Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 4 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Season 8 is upon us, and we are currently expanding our smeltery. Boom! By upgrading the smeltery, we have more slots for smelting and more capacity for liquids. Awesome. So last episode, we got some really good smelting progress done. We've got some really nice tools. Today, I'd like to get into a little bit of machinery. I think it's about time that we took a look at doing that. So I'm going to start smelting up some of my tin and copper ore. One of the things you want to remember when smelting tin and copper ore is that when you smelt tin and copper ore, they will combine to form bronze. So if you're building an automated system like this one, which can automatically smelt stuff for you, make sure that you do tin and bronze separately because they will combine inside the smelter and turn into, tin and copper separately because they'll combine to form bronze, and you may not want that. And you can always throw the ingots in there to make bronze as you wish. So, I want to play with a mod today that I've never played before with, and there's a little book on my hotbar to explain it. It's Actually Additions. So Actually Additions is a bit of a tech mod. It's a little bit magical, I think, in some respects, but it's also mostly technical, I guess. There's a few things. I don't know. I haven't, to be honest, played with it all that much. I'm kind of purposely not learning too much about it so that I can learn a little bit about it on camera with you guys. But we are going to be doing a mod spotlight on it really soon. And at that point, I will probably understand all the things it can do. But I have flipped through and see that it can do a few things that I wouldn't mind playing with. For now. One of the things I'd like to get going, for now at least, is early game generation of RF. So we can get some RF power for some of the machines that we're probably going to want to start building. So I said I wanted to get into technical stuff, and RF power is going to be where it's at. I'm also going to probably look at getting some ore doubling going on. So we'll look at the crusher, which is a nifty little block from Actually Additions. You can also get a double crusher, which is cool. And we'll just get some basic RF generation going. But before we can do any of that, we're going to have to make something cool. Something that's called the reconstructor. The atomic reconstructor is going to be used to create some of the items that we're going to need to use in this mod for crafting. There's a bunch of items that it can make, specifically these. So there's redstone crystal blocks, a bunch of different things, and then individual items as well. Cool. So we're going to take a look at how that item works and how to play with it a little bit and get some of the resources we're going to need to expand. So for example, the crusher needs redstone crystal, which is made in the atomic reconstructor from redstone. Not too bad, but it does require RF. So we're going to have a little bit of RF generation. So let me get some of the resources I'm going to need to get started, and we'll be right back. So the nice thing about Actually Additions is that it has a nifty book that tells you all about it. Getting started section that we're looking at here has a bunch of basic information for how to get started. It makes sense, right? But then there's other things. There's reconstruction, stuff that you can do with the atomic reconstructor. And then there's a bunch of different chapters that basically break out between RF usage and not. So there's blocks that don't use RF. And these are a bunch of nifty blocks that do things that don't require RF power. And then there's blocks that do use RF. And a bunch of nifty things that do require RF power to do what you want to do. And then same for items, right? Items that don't use RF and items that do. Neat. So we're going to check out some of these throughout the series for sure. But today we want to get started on the basics, right? There's also some miscellaneous stuff in there, like worms. We already saw worms. They're neat. You can see over here on the right, if you'd like, you can left click on this guy to bookmark some chapters. And on the bottom, it opens up all the bookmarks. You can bookmark any chapter at any time. So like here's the intro, and you can shift click to remove, right? There's a video guide, and there's black quartz, and there's RF and Tesla, and coal generator, and crystals and reconstruction. That's pretty much what we're going to look at, right? And if you like something, you can always bookmark it if you want. There's a button in here somewhere. Not 100%. I think it's this one. You just click down here, boom, and then you bookmark. Fancy, right? So for future reference. So let's actually go through what we're probably going to want to do. So one of the first things we're going to need is a coal generator. This generates RF by way of coal, 30 RF a tick. Not bad, not the best coal generator that exists, but we're going to definitely check it out. It only starts burning something up if there's enough space for the energy generated. That's kind of a cool thing, and I want to test that a little bit because that sounds awesome. So let's make this. The iron casing is just some iron ingots and some of that black quartz. Cool. Now we can take a look at black quartz and how to get it, I presume, is what we're going to see in here. Or we can probably look up black quartz in here. Now we've already gotten the blocks. So we've got these guys. So let's look up the usage of black quartz. We can smelt it for 1. We can crusher it for 2, furnace it for 1. So basically smelting it, you get 1, and crushing it, you get 2. I'm going to go ahead and hope that I can toss it into here. Can I? Nope. So we're going to have to start off with getting a small amount of them. So let's see what we need for our generator, right? First things we're going to want to get is a generator. So that only requires 1 black quartz. So that's what we're going to smelt up. I'm going to try and keep my black quartz usage to a minimum. I'm going to not smelt it until I really need to, right? We're going to grab a bunch of iron because we're not going to need that. And we're going to probably grab some sticks. And let's craft, right? So first, boom, iron casing. Nice, that's the first step. We're also going to need a little bit of coal, because it's a coal generator apparently, and some cobblestone. So not a terribly expensive recipe, and we've got a cool generator. Nice. I'll probably start building this outside for now, and then eventually we're going to build a base relatively soonish. So maybe right over here is a good spot to start placing it down. All right, so let's throw some coal in there, and you're going to start generating RF. Seems pretty easy. You can also, this supports Tesla, so I don't think we have any mods in the pack that actually use the Tesla API, but if you decide to add mods to the pack, which you're totally welcome to do, you can click on it, and it really only affects the looks, because Tesla and RF are pretty similar, I think, in their the way they function. Neat. So we're generating RF. Good. While that starts generating some power, I'm going to run over here, and we're going to make something else. So the atomic reconstructor is what we use to actually make some of these things. The way it works is when you give it power, it's going to shoot a laser, and the laser is going to hit a block in front of it. And it'll convert all surrounding items and blocks, provided they can be converted, when the laser hits it. When shooting a laser, it uses 1000 RF, but additional rates vary depending on the conversion. So we can take a look at that. There's also a lens system, which we'll probably see later on in the series. But for now, we can look through here and see what the different options are. By the way, you can right-click the reconstructor with a redstone torsion hand, and it'll change its mode between it gets deactivated by a redstone signal, or it responds to pulses, which is pretty cool. I might want to set it to the pulse mode. So that's pretty much what it looks like. Nice. So let's see. There's also a way to automate it, but we'll get to that in a minute. So to make this thing, we're going to need one of those iron casings and some iron and redstone. So that means we're going to want to smelt another one of you, some iron, and we're going to need some redstone. And I'm probably going to need a good amount of redstone because one of the first things I'm going to make is requiring redstone. So we'll get that. And we should also make our redstone torch while we're at it, because I want to hang on to that thing for when we want to do this. Cool. Okay. So, all right, so iron casing, check. Reconstructor, check. Nice. Let's go give this thing a try, shall we? Now, like I said, when it impacts a block, it's going to affect that block. So let's put it next to, nice. That's cool. So when you mouse over it, you can see some details. It just, oh, hello. You must be running constantly, huh? I'm gonna right-click you, redstone mode pulse. Right-click to toggle. Nice. So in pulse mode, it only runs when it receives a redstone pulse, I presume. So let's go get a button. We might have some smooth stone in here. For now, we'll make it a pulse. Might change that later. And you can see it's only got 46,000 RF left. So it definitely used 2,000 RF just now, which isn't the end of the world. Okay, cool. That's pretty neat. I like that. It shows you like an in-world overlay when you look over at it. You can see on the bottom left the power, the settings. So there's no UI, which is kind of neat. I like that. I definitely like that. All right, so let's place a block here and put some redstone nearby. Hooray! You can see the little white particle effects that indicate the area of effect. Super cool. And I got my first redstonia crystal. That's cool. Let's try a redstone block, because that should be pretty similar. So the block you can actually impact directly. So we could either put the block next to the cobblestone, because it has that area of effect ability, or just directly in line with it. I said directly in line with it. That looks better. Neat. Pretty straightforward. I like it. All right, let's try out the crusher now. So the crusher is also going to need some basic coils. So we're going to need, looks like 4, and 2 redstone. We need 10 redstone crystals total. I'm totally not even kidding with you guys. That was pure coincidence that I just made 10 crystals. 100% not even like a little bit kidding. So we're going to need 3 more black quartz. what seems to be exactly as much as we've got up there. This and this, and then we're gonna need a couple flint and cobble. So flint I should have 2 of. Nice. Get our first black quartz, crusher, casing, check. And then the other 2 black quartz. Should be quick and easy to get. 1. Check. So this can be the basic coil. The other basic coil. And we should be good to go. Ready? Pressure. Nice. So this thing should be pretty nice. I'm going to grab my tin, because why not? Now, I don't know how much power this uses. Now, you should be out of power, right? Because all of it went into the atomic reconstructor. For now, oh, by the way, when the atomic reconstructor does things, it uses more than 1,000. It's 1,000 for the pulse, and then in addition to that, it uses power for each of the items that it transforms. So, for example, you'll notice over here, it's 400 RF to do the crystal block, and it's 40 RF to do the redstonia crystal. So keep that in mind, right? So that's why it's not an even 1,000 anymore that's sitting in there. So let's put down our coal gen here, and what we'll wind up with for now is a crusher on one side of it. We'll toss some coal in there. The crusher does have a UI. It holds 60,000 RF in total. And the crusher, it said, I think I can shift click on this, yes, to see the manual entry. Nice. And we can upgrade this to a double crusher eventually. Requires 2 crushers and some gold, which I don't think I found any gold yet, for the record. Like, at all. So, FYI, that's awful. But this, you know, works like a basic crusher, if you will. Looks pretty good. In addition to the normal recipes you would expect, it has some other nifty options. Let's look at RF per tick. I said it was using 40. So here's the thing to keep in mind. The crusher uses 40 RF a tick, and this thing produces 30. So the crusher uses more RF a tick than we get. So we have a net loss if we only have 1. But hey, that looks pretty nice. It's crushing. Beautiful. I like the little UI textures as well. Things look good there. I like that. Nice. So let's throw a little bit more coal in there. One of the things I wanted to test, it said it wouldn't burn the coal unless there's enough power inside the generator. So I want to test to see if, like, if it's like 2/3 full, will it burn up a piece of coal to fill up that third and then waste the remainder, or how that works. So that's a little bit of a test that I want to do. But for now, we're getting some more crushed black quartz. We can smelt it into black quartz, and that'll work. So speaking of smelting, let's go get the next item that I want, which is the smelter. I think it's called the smelter. Is it called the smelter, or is it called the furnace? Something from Actual Edition. Powered furnace. Previously, double furnace. Cool. That's going to require some Enori crystals and more basic crystals. So we're going to need 8 more of these redstonia crystals, and we're going to need some Enori crystals, which we get from an Enori block, or we get from iron. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. So basically 2 iron ingots, and we should be in good shape. And another 8 or so redstone. So I think I've actually even got those. So let's do it like this. We'll come over here, we'll pop you down, we'll put our 8 redstone and 2 iron. Sweet. I like that. That's actually kind of a fun crafting mechanic, and it's totally automatable within the mod. The mod itself allows you to automate that, so there's some things we'll take a look at soon. Oh, we're also going to want some of the quartz that we are grinding over here. Cool. So this will fill up the internal buffer here, and then it'll start filling up its own internal buffer. Not bad. So let's craft up. We're going to want to smelt probably... I want to save some of these for the powered furnace. So I think we only need 1, right? 2. 2. To get our basic coils. And then the rest is just cobblestone, so that's not too bad. So basic coil 1, check. Basic coil 2. Check. And then we need 2 furnaces. And this guy. Right, 1 more of these. Smelt it up. I want to see how fast the powered furnace is by comparison. It uses 25 RF a tick and can smelt 2 items at a time. So that's kind of neat. So, I mean, there's lots of furnace options for powered furnaces and grinders, obviously. We have Ender IO, we have several other mods, we have Industrial Craft, a few mods that can basically handle what we're trying to do here. The main reason I'm trying... oh boy, it's dark time. The main reason I'm trying Actually Additions is because I haven't played with the mod before, and I wanted to. And I thought you guys would enjoy seeing something a little bit different than usual. Alright, so powered furnace. So this guy should be full on its internal buffer. You are going to build up your internal buffer. You're ready to run. Sweet. Auto split items off versus on. Totally going to turn that on, and I'll tell you why. Auto split items off, you throw items in here, and it's going to smelt one at a time. Put it on. Now that's using, so we have a net gain here, right? If we do this, it'll automatically split them into the two stacks, and we have a net loss of power. So it's using 25 RF per tick per smelting operation. So when we're doing both, right, it's not 25 RF a tick, it's 50. Cool. So that's pretty nice. I like that. I like that a lot. So with auto split on, it automatically splits them. Sweet. Can throw a little bit more coal in here. And let's come back in a minute. Once crafting is done, I want to let this internal buffer fill, and then I want to let this thing fill, and I want to see what happens with the coal. So I'm going to test that right now, and we'll come back when the time to see the results is here. What else is interesting, by the way, is when we're low on power, the first column here starts moving, is pretty much moving the same speed, and the second one's moving slower. So it looks like this prioritizes the power, and it looks like it's auto re-splitting them. So that's kind of cool. Notice how fast the first one's going than the second. That's pretty neat. By the way, I decided to throw my tin that I had directly into the smelter. Now that, wow, look how fast tin smelts in here. It's crazy. It's awesome. So this thing will automatically collect all the tin ingots. Cool. All right, so it's time to do experiments, right? This thing should be almost done. I think it was around 4,000, so 52,000 is when I'll finish. So what does a piece of coal do in here? Let's find out. It does smelt it. Okay. That was kind of what I was curious about. The wording in the book made it sound like maybe it wouldn't smelt the coal if there wasn't enough for all 48,000 RF inside the capacitor. But that's okay. Now, are you going to finish your burning, or are you going to retain that heat? It looks like it's using up the coal. Okay, that's not the end of the world. I can live with that. So I could either hopper tiny coal in there, which would probably be a smart way to go, to keep things going, because it probably wouldn't kick on unless the tiny coal was there to go. There's a couple ways we could go about managing this, but for now, we've got a nice little doubling system. So that allows us to double stuff like black quartz, which we couldn't double in the smeltery, and it also allows us to use coal and other purposes, and it's also going to be allowing us for some automation, so we can automate things a little bit better once we have a piping system up and running. Sweet. All right, cool. So we've got the basics down. I want to put away these things for now. So there's a couple other things I'd like to consider doing this episode before we wrap up. Now that we've got the basics of Actually Additions up and running, and we can ore double, which is awesome. I think that's good for now, right? Yeah. There's also an Empower, but I think that's a later tier item. It lets you empower items. Yeah, it definitely requires... not too bad, but it requires... It looks like chiseled quartz block, which you get from nether quartz, obviously, which we don't have access to yet, because we haven't gone to the nether. Is it getting dark? No. There's something I wouldn't mind checking out. I'm going to take a look at journey map. If we look at our map, we'll see to the north of us is a little town that I noticed on the map. Before I go there, though, should I upgrade my sword? Totally feel like I should. Let's do that real quick. I want to see what metals I have currently would be good for swords. So, we're looking for head, attack. 2, 3, 2.9, 3.4, 6 for prismarine. That's not bad. I want to see what bronze is, really. Magma slime is 7. That's not bad at all. Manulin's the best at 8.72. Copper, electrum, silver. Ooh, holy, what's that do? Deal bonus damage to undead. That's kind of cool. Steel, 6. Bronze attack is 3.5. So bronze is not a good weapon metal. Okay. Steel might not be bad. What are our options for making steel at the moment? Steel ingots. Steel grit. Blast furnace, arc furnace, casting. Can we get molten steel anyway besides already having steel? Yeah, we might have to play with this a little bit. Other options for attack damage. Silver. Silver is not bad for attack. 5 attack, and it has the extra bonus to undead. I'm thinking silver might be what I want my weapon to be made out of. What's the durability look like on that? Not bad either. That's cool. Just going to flip through. Manualin's what I'm going to want once we get to the nether. And magma slime is also nether based. Night slime, I don't think we've seen any of those islands yet, but maybe at some point. That has crumbling. The tool breaks soft blocks that don't need a tool faster. That's cool. Tool mines faster the higher its mining level is above the required one. Awesome. Alright, let's go with firewood, huh? I don't even know what firewood is. Prismarine would also be nice. I think there's a way to make prismarine, but I think it's expensive. Alright, let's go with silver. An attack damage of 5 sounds good. And we've got a little bit of silver. So let's go make over here. We're going to throw our aluminum brass ingots back in here. I'm going to make sure that you're disabled so that you're not auto-running. We're going to want a sword blade. I personally like, so there's several sword patterns you can make with Tinkers. I personally like the vanilla sword, broadsword. Pretty much works like a regular sword. But there's also the long sword, right-click lunges, and then the rapier is quick strikes. So I think I'm going to, for now, build this one. So we're going to need this thing right there. It's like a guard or something. I don't know. Wide guard pattern. Yep. So let's get the, you can be stone because we're going to be smelting you. The stick can be wood. And maybe we'll go with flint for now for the binding. And then eventually we can always upgrade these things. Flint is currently a situation that we're going to have a little bit of problem, aren't we? Shovel. I got to go harvest some gravel. I'm not sure which mod adds this recipe, but I like it. Cool. So let's go over here. And we're going to say wide guard made out of flint. That should work. For now, could you please pour out some aluminum brass? And it should have been clay probably, but that's fine. We're probably going to make multiple swords going forward. So the sword blade pattern requires 2 materials. So we're going to want 1 silver ore should become 2 silver bars, and that should be sufficient. So we'll put this other silver away and we'll mess with it later. I think I can also store my ingot, my Tinker's ingot cast in here. Maybe not. I'll store them in here then. Silver, pretty quick to melt. Boom. That works for me. Silver blade. Neat. So that should be a better sword than the one I currently have. Dire sword. You know it. And then we can void this. I'm going to go take a nap, and then we're going to go visit a village and see what kind of good stuff we can find over there. See you later, sword. I've got a better one now. Alright, let's go on an adventure. I want to try the sword against... There's even mobs ready for me. Thank you. Haha! Skeletons, huh? Yeah, that's what's up. Not quite as good against spiders, obviously, but that's okay. Some of the more difficult and frustrating mobs are not undead. Hey, cool, we get cobwebs from spiders. Also not sure which mod is adding that. So there's a couple things that, you know, there's a few mods in the pack, like I said, that I'm not super fluent in, like Actually additions. And there's a couple things that are dropping that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Or it might even be vanilla, and I just didn't know. But it's probably one of the mods that I added that adds some features. So a quick little run. There's lots of animals around here, which is awesome for me. I need to get an animal pen up and running so I can start breeding these dudes and having better things to eat than bread. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. It's better than nothing, but I'm a steak and potatoes kind of guy. What's up, village? How's it going? Anything cool over here for me? So lots of wheat. I'm hoping to find potatoes and carrots. Hey, cool. A tracksman. Coal for emeralds, huh? That's not bad. Good amount of wheat. I was kind of hoping for some potatoes nearby. Nifty little home. Spruce store. Grass path. Neat. Jam guy, huh? Ha! Actually additions. That's cool. He sells jams. Do you have something in here? Oh, look at that. There's jam in here. I'll take some jam. I don't know what it is, but there's a jam guy, and he apparently sells jam. I totally need to get with LPEC and talk about a mod spotlight for this mod, just so I have a little bit better understanding of it. That would be super cool. Librarian? Nice. Bane of Arthropods 3! Please, it's my favorite. I need it. What do we got down here by way of farming? Canola plants from Actually Additions. I've kind of got those. Coffee plants. I think I've got those. Cool. Canola rice plants, huh? I'll take a couple rice seeds. I don't know what good they are, but yeah. And coffee? I don't know if I've found coffee seeds. I forget if I found them. But I'm going to hope that I have. Nice. I'll take it. Like I said, not 100% sure what's up with that, but I know coffee, there's like a coffee maker in Actually Additions that basically lets you make almost customized potions. I'm guessing that's what it is. Here's an empty chest. Thanks, engineer guy. You are no help at all. Just raiding the village. I was kind of hoping to find potatoes and carrots while I was here. An arborist is nice. These guys are from forestry. You poor guys are stuck in grass blocks. Let's do something about that, huh? You're welcome, Trackman and Weaponsmith. So really, no good farm here? Ooh, rubberwood trees. I'll have to remember that they're here. Hey, in the future, when I'm starting industrial craft and I'm like, hey, I really wish I could find some rubberwood, remind me that there was some over by the farm, these guys. It's actually a decent sized village, really. The downside is just that there's not all that much good here. I was really hoping to run into a carrot. Oh, okay, wait. Potatoes. Not that I want to eat all your potatoes, but I'll leave you guys a few. It's enough to get my own farm going. See, look, I'll even replant some for you. I don't want to steal all the poor villagers' food. Carrots, too. Alright, cool. I did get the carrots and potatoes I was hoping to find. That's enough for you guys to get started, right? You can replant those. Not going to steal all their food. I'm not heartless. Alright, running back to the base. I'm going to plant my potatoes and carrots in my farm. And I don't know if I'm going to get the canola seed stuff going on. So there's an oil generator, or a biofuel generator. There's actually a couple from Actually Additions. And oil seeds grow canola oil beans or something like that, and you can use them for power. It's something we'll probably look into in a little bit, but just not yet. Not super soon. Soon, but not super soon. Alright, back here. There we go. Wow, I have a lot of stuff in my inventory, don't I? We're gonna do... I want the, these dudes to help out. Cool. And over here, I'm gonna start grinding up some of my wheat that I have. So you, at this point, should not burn any more stuff because you're full. But if I throw some wheat into the crusher, can you go in there? No? Oh, wheat. Why are you no crusher? Sag mill makes flour from Ender.io. That's about it. Those are my only options. Sag mill and quartz grindstone. Interesting. Good to know, crusher. Okay. So I might need to get into Ender.io sooner than later. For now, I'm going to grind you up, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. Well, the good news is we're smelting bread in our powered furnace. And with that, it feels like a good wrapping up point. So good progress today. Got some technological stuff going on. We've got a lot of progress left to be made in actually additions, and there's some other automation and stuff we're going to want to get into soon. I think sooner than later, we're going to want to head to the Nether. We're also going to need to do more harvesting of resources. We're totally not even close to done with that. I might do some mining off camera between episodes here. I'm doing all right resource-wise, but you need to be a bigger chest if you're going to hold all kinds of seeds and stuff. Probably, definitely. Should I make a quick iron chest out of this thing? I feel like I have the resources to pull that off, so why don't we? So let's do that real fast. As we wrap up the episode here, I'm going to say Daryl20 is signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll definitely come back next time and maybe visit the Nether, maybe expand some technological stuff, maybe a little bit of both. But for now, take it easy.